You know, I say it every year. This is my 39th year for official practice in college basketball, 25th as a head coach. And I always think about my very first ones. And I was talking to Sean Tui on the way over here, and I said, Sean, he's asked me about official practice. You know, it's a little different when we played. You couldn't touch your guys, couldn't watch them play pickup, do anything, lift weights, anything until October 15th. So today is the 51st time we've touched our players since the summer. Now, it's been in limited amount of hours, you know, but it's the 51st time we've gotten together. And so there's nothing like getting them every day for a couple of hours, two and a half hours, you know. But you know your guys. And so they've been a good group to come to the gym with. Like a lot of teams in college basketball, we're very excited about our team. Got a ton of work ahead of us. You know, as soon as football starts, these weeks start peeling off, and that's exactly been the case. September's just flown by. And but I know our guys are excited. We had a little 45-minute to an hour kind of a walkthrough this morning, and then we'll go for a couple hours this afternoon.
With that in mind, as far as being with the team for 50 some odd times compared to old years, how much of an advantage is that, and where does that kind of put you in terms of practice and where you're starting compared to the previous year?
Yeah, you know, what happened, Ben, is that it used to be you'd start after Thanksgiving, or you'd have maybe a holiday tournament Thanksgiving weekend. So you'd have from October 15th about 6 weeks. Now that season gets on top of you pretty quick. You know, we have an exhibition game November the 5th, I think the Friday before we play Liberty in football. But we are, the rule was really, I mean, it's obviously to make the quality of basketball better in November, which I think it has, because you've had more time with your guys. But it was really an asinine rule that kids would be on your campus and you couldn't work with them. Just see them, you know, and go by the weight room and visit with them, watch them lift, and have 4 hours a week on the floor. So you get to know your guys better, especially those new guys, the freshmen. It's an unbelievable experience for them just to get on the floor. Maybe not just like today would be, okay, bam, you just get thrown in the fray for 2.5 or 3 hours. So I think it's a great learning process for especially the new guys to get introduced into college basketball.
Is there anything in particular you're coaching as far as points of emphasis in officiating that the SEC has talked about? Has there been any changes from years past at all?
Points of emphasis in officiating? You know, they're going to be a lot more lenient with the travel rule this year. I think the NBA has influenced that. Maybe like Romello last year, I think he had a great spin move around the post, but you know, maybe it's 3 steps, and I think they're going to let that go. Kind of the NBA step back that Harden has kind of brought into the NBA, more lenient with that. Always an emphasis on trying to, you know, with rough play, you know, and freedom of movement, you know, and sometimes it seems like that is emphasized early, and then late the games get more physical. But really no earth-shattering, you know, rule changes. I think it's just a point of emphasis. And we'll have SEC officials come in 3 or 4 times, Ben, just here in the next 3 or 4 weeks, just where we can get used. They can start calling fouls. Because even in the physical play we've had early on, we're not calling many fouls. We're trying to emphasize it, but we're trying to get guys to play at a tough and a competitive level.
I know this level of roster turnover is very normal in college basketball now, but just for you and your staff, at what point do you start to figure out what you have, what sort of identity this team has when there are 7 or 8 new pieces? Yeah,
you know, and I've said this, and y'all probably heard me say it, is that, you know, it's just this going to be the new norm. I mean, look at our team with the transfer portal. We have 5 transfers and 8 high school guys. So some people are 8 and 5, you know, or maybe that. So we still have a good blend of high school players on our team, and those other 2 are Jarkel and Robert. But you know, I've got a decent idea now. I don't think you really can until you get them every day, and you see a guy every single day. I mean, we'd practice on Monday and maybe take off Tuesday and practice on Wednesday because of the 4-hour rule. But now you get them every day, and so you can really understand basketball IQ more, how guys can really catch on. That's a huge part of young guys, is just being able to think, you know, on the floor. And so some guys pick it up quicker than others. But, you know, in the next 2 weeks, I mean, really understanding what we can do defensively, what are some strengths of us offensively, and then, you know, start in our own little practices, they'll start figuring out depth charts. We'll put it out to the public, but they're going to start sensing it.
You talked about speeding up the offense. I think Ty said something about like a spread type of offense. I talked to him last week. What does that kind of entail? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, we need to have more possessions, Ben. We had the point last year we've talked about is that, we had to make a decision because we didn't shoot it at a great clip. Our assist to turnover wasn't good. We just had to win it doing the defensive things and rebounding, and we did. And I was proud of our players for doing it. We need to have more number of possessions. I think our team is much faster in transition as a whole. We shoot it better. The biggest thing, you want to play fast, smart, and unselfish. Then if you can do those three things with great toughness, now you got a great product, and people want to come watch that. And our skill level is good. Really trying to, I think we have more guys that maybe can create off the dribble. And so hope that the floor is spread and we can make better decisions. But at the same time, we always talk about playing with a hot ball, where guys are moving the ball and playing really unselfish.
So the shooting's improved. Just who have you kind of seen that coming from this summer?
Yeah, I think, Matthew Morrell is an improved shooter. Austin Crowley's an improved shooter. I think you saw Jarkel improve as the year went on, and he's, his percentage from three is better. Jamin Brakefield is one of our best three-point shooters, so he can stretch it whether he's at the 4 or the 3 or wherever he's playing it. We need Robert Allen to be able to shoot the ball better. And, Deshaun Ruffin is a good shooter. I really kind of go through a lot of different guys. Grant and Eric, those guys have shot it for a percentage, especially Eric. So I just hope that we can stretch the floor in a better way than we did last year.
What aspects of Jarkel's game have you seen maybe take that step over the summer, and what are kind of you want him to hone in on this month?
He's unbelievable how much improvement he's made from this time last year. His assist to turnovers almost 3-to-1 in our practices. We keep every assist, every turn, every stat, so it's almost 3-to-1 since June, and that's what really good point guards can do, or just good guards, And just his leadership has even grown. We thought that he was a good on-ball defender at times, not great off the ball. So just everything, off the ball, team defense. He just practices such a high level. His body's changed. You can see it. He's gained weight. Now he's playing consistently over 180 pounds. So, yeah, he's just developed he's going to be one of the better guards in the SEC.
You talk all the time about players changing their bodies and getting away. What the hell have you been feeding Matthew Morrell?
I know. I'm telling you. Yeah, he is just, we talk to Matt all the time. There's no better athlete his position in college basketball. Run, jump, strength, fast. He's got it all. Now we've got to see those athletic plays show up in the everyday possessions, defending, rebounding, running, spring the floor. Not just he can catch some of the dangest lobs and dunk them in. But how many plays do you get like that? He's got to get all those great physical attributes into day-to-day possessions. Every possession. And when Matt does that, then he'll just jump up and be one of the elite players.
We just had Jamin in here, obviously, and he kind of talked about how you recruited him twice in a way. I'm just curious, what was that like recruiting him on two different occasions? What's your relationship like with him, and what are your impressions of him fitting in so far?
Yeah, Jamin's he's 6'8", 6'9", very skilled, can really shoot. We've talked a lot about it. You talking about positionless players, he is. Now his biggest thing in front of him is can he guard 1 through 4? Really guard 1, 2s, and 3s and stay in a stance and keep guys in front and compete. He's a really good passer. He's been a really, really good teammate. Very likable guy. He's been great. When I really find out about guys is how involved they are and invested they are in the recruiting process of other players to Ole Miss. And he's as good as anybody we've had since I've been here. And Ty Fagan's another has been unbelievable. Matt Morrell's great. But so Jamin loves Ole Miss. And we always talk about happy players, you play better. And he's a happy player. He's back home playing. And, we've known Jamin for a long time and sure excited about him playing. I know he can't wait to get this thing out here and start and let the pavilion get filled up and start playing.
I know Deshaun's another guy you've recruited forever. Was there anything you learned about him or found out about him once he got to campus that maybe you didn't see in the 3-4 years of the recruiting journey?
Yeah, Deshaun got nicked up, and he just got back with our team. He got hurt in a pickup game while he was back in Jackson. And so one thing I found out about him, which is not the truth about a lot of young guys, he's been unbelievable how diligent he has been in his recovery from this injury. And as far as rehab, everything Andrew, our trainer, has asked him to do. He's shown a lot of maturity. So I found a lot about him there. his basketball IQ is even a lot higher than I thought. He's a really, really good passer, as good a passer as we've had since I've been here. He's just an electric guy off the dribble. It's just hard to keep him in front, you know. So he's going to have a lot of freedom to be able to play and make others better. And, you know, now he's learning about how durable can he be. I mean, Jarkel goes at him, and our experienced guys go at him every day. I mean, he's not a tall guy, so he's got to compete at a really, really high level. And I think all those guys, the defensive kind of physicalness every single day is probably one of the biggest adjustments from high school to our level.
You talk about having still a long way to go. Where do you kind of assess of where you want to see your team make the most growth from now until the start of the season?
You know, I've seen the ball movement improve a ton over the last 2 or 3 weeks on our team, and when the ball does move and get out of our hands and make quick decisions, I mean by catch it open, shoot it, catch it, drive it. If not, you know, not just to pound it, but just boom, let the ball move. And so the ball is, we've played with a lot hotter basketball in the last couple weeks. Like every team right now, we've got to improve defensively what we're doing. There's some things we're just now starting to put in from a lot of our zone offensive packages, you know. So like any coach, you want to develop great depth, you know. I think our guys, they really enjoy each other. They enjoy playing with each other. And so we just got to improve in probably every area right now, you know, just getting started.
How much are you expecting from Jarkel to kind of step in and replace what Devontae and Brian have been able to do in the last couple of years?
Yeah, we've had some elite guards here. I mean, starting with TD and Brian and Devontae, I'm talking about 3 of the best guards in the SEC, could score it, do a lot of different things. I think Jarkel's right in that line of all those guys based on his talent and his ability to work every single day. And I think we all saw Jarkel at the end of the year, whether it's the last SEC game and a heartbreaking loss to LSU and maybe got 24 or 25, you know. So I think I've said it about Brian and maybe even Devontae, I think he's got maybe the best mid-range game in college basketball, and he's improved his three-point shooting. And so I think we talked about the assist to turnover comes, and he'll really be a complete guard that can kind of play at all levels.
Any questions on Zoom? Neil, go ahead. Neil, you're muted.
You think I learned that after all the Zooms I've done today? Is Deshaun completely healed? Is he ready to go?
He is, Neil. We're going to have to be, you know, he's gone full board. He's in all our physical contact drills. You know, like, you know, now we're wearing the chips that all the NBA teams are wearing, and so it does kind of manage, especially for guys recovering from injuries, his load. But yeah, he's been in a couple really, really physical practices. He's done well. His conditioning is not what it needs to be, but that's what we expected after him being out. But there may be some times that's going to be strictly up to Andrew, just his workload over the next couple of weeks, day in and day out, especially when we get in that grind of back-to-back-to-back practices.
College basketball, so much of it is fueled by emotion and student sections and all that stuff, at least in my opinion. That wasn't there last year pretty much at any point. How excited are you to kind of see what I assume will be something resembling normal again?
Yep, it's going to be, you know, right now it's 100% capacity. The guy going around campus and being at football games, just the students can't wait to get back into Club Reds. I think that thing's going to be exciting and bring a lot of passion and energy. And I've always said it, when they're here, it's as good a student body as any in college basketball. I think people are just excited like they are in football, just to get here. And, you know, this is the first time that I've seen the bleachers pushed in at the pavilion in over a year. You know, it's been with the COVID and everything's out. So it's good today just to walk in and see the bleachers back right on the court. The courtside seats are set up, you know, so game ready just like it was a couple years ago.
I know it was like this for everybody, but how hard was it last year to sometimes generate energy internally when, you know, especially with home games where sometimes you fed off crowds, or when you were on the road you fed off an opposing crowd even a little bit when there was no crowd? Was it hard to do that night in and night out?
Yeah, I think it's hard for those players. I just think I respect so much, you know, the guys around college basketball that did it, even up to the Final Four with no fans. And, you know, it just shows you their love for basketball. But I think it's going to do this. I bet you football said the same thing. We've always appreciated the fans, but I think our guy, you'll appreciate fans even more when you step out there and you kind of sense that buzz, Neil, you know, when you're warming up and the tip-off comes. And so I think everybody's ready for college basketball to get back. It's been so fun for me just to go to Vaught-Hemingway and then just to watch games on TV and watch these packed stadiums, you know, watch these high-level games. So it'll be the same for basketball.
Thank you.
Any more questions in here?
Obviously, the start of your season last year was highly affected just by COVID. How much peace of mind do you have heading into this year that you're probably not going to have those same problems? Yeah,
I'm very peace of mind because we're 100% vaccinated, you know, and I think that the biggest, you think about when Lane got it. Think about it, say 60 or 70% of his team or half his team were not vaccinated. Matt Corral probably wouldn't have played in the game, or, you know, unvaccinated guys wouldn't have played in the game. And so you think about that. I mean, they put themselves, obviously it's the safest thing and the healthiest thing to do to stay healthy, and then for your team. And so it's a good feeling. And not saying that anybody vaccinated, you still maybe can get the virus, as everybody knows, but your cases are mild. But the whole thing is the social tracing, you know, which, you know, when you're trying to play in games, you feel so much better because we're walking into the arena, you know, trying to get tests at 6 a.m. on a Saturday, and if it's a positive, you didn't play in that game on Saturday. So that's a great feeling for us.